A quick view of my reloading space. I got the big workbench here. I put this together. This is the garage, so multi-purpose, but I wanted really solid surfaces, so this has like 2x10s or 2x12s, whatever it was at the time, running across the top, 2x4 supported, heavy supported. Everywhere you see the door sills, there's 2x4s all along. They're vertical. Has a floor under there and everything. And so the plywood is for the most part glued down to the countertops. Everything's screwed together, no nails. The exception would be this little section here. There's a 12 by 18, I think is the dimension. I'm not sure, I don't really remember right now, but that board is a sacrificial board. It'll just unscrew and lift out, and the idea is that I can attach things, put screws down there, hold things down, etc. And then if it gets too gnarly, I'll just cut the piece out and put a new one in. These 9mm cases are being resized to Makarov. I had 1,000 rounds of 9mm remanufactured, commercial remanufactured ammo, and probably bought it like 15-20 years ago, somewhere in between there, and every so often the rounds would go boom instead of bang, so finally gotten around to pulling those apart and going to reuse the components and just trim these down shorter. I was getting base explosions where the base would let go, kind of like a Glock, what you read about with the Glock stuff when they explode. So it might even be that, for all I know. These were used a lot in Glocks, then remanufactured, and I bought them. But so anyhow, I'm trimming them with this. I also changed the screw back here to something. I'll take a hex, and then I run it with the drill so it spins it nice and fast, so I don't have to be doing this all day long. Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't take forever doing this. It gets real old spinning that thing. This is my lead cutter for bullet swaging. I have some swaging stuff over there I'll get to. The Gem Pro 250 is a nice, accurate digital scale. Sometimes it's too precise, like if someone turns the TV on, the power supply for this thing isn't really all that great. I added this to it to try to eliminate a few spikes, what have you. But if someone turns the TV on, you'll see your digits jump a little bit. Also, I can kind of feel, when I rub my finger on this, I can feel one of the poles, like electrical current, like the 60 hertz hum, and that's because I'm not fully being isolated from the mains. There's something going on there, so probably would benefit from a better power supply, Gem Pro, but it is a pretty good scale. But sometimes you can't quite account for some of the fluctuations as far as what's going on. Did the neighbors turn their TV on? I'm not sure, but it is still, instead of talking tenths like you do with the analog scales, got one in here somewhere, this is hundredths, so it is a little more accurate, but the additional digits can kind of throw you off too. So let's see, ultrasonic cleaner. I use it a lot. I like it a lot. The solution does get weaker and weaker as you go, so you have to leave the cases in longer and longer. It is not as good as the steel pen methods, but it's also a lot easier to do, quicker to do, more convenient, no steel pens to keep track of, etc. So for the volume reloader, which I really am, this is good enough for me. But if you do have a fresh batch of your cleaning solution, which is generally some sort of a citric acid, maybe a little bit of detergent, if it's fresh, it will make them very clean looking, but not the polished brand new look. I done a little bit of gun cleaning in it, but I don't know, for me, I don't know that it's really worth the effort. Plus there's always a chance there'll be a little bit of moisture or something left. You got to be really anal about cleaning it, full disassembly and so forth. Swaging dies, this is a Dillon press. made out of tool steel. The main pivot pin here can be placed either up here for regular reloading or down here for being able to assuage heavy jacketed bullets and so forth. Supposedly it's made completely out of tool steel. I usually use it as a single station press, but it's not a real good single station press. There's enough finger room here, and when your primers drop out they're supposed to spill into this, but they get stuck inside of this thing all the time, and so it's a huge pain in the ass. And I've even went in there with a deburring head on a Dremel and tried to clean it up, but still they get stuck and it screws you sometimes. I mean, it'll get so stuffed you have to take it apart and jam something through it. These are swaging dies. This is the actual bullet forming die. It has a hollow point insert. You could also use a flat for flat point. And this is your core seating. And you have a chunk of lead that's just about the right weight, or yeah, plus the cup weight, the copper cup. You'll run it with this guy with the little hole in it. You'll squish it all together, and extra lead will squish out through that hole and make like a little fine lead wire. And here's some things that you can do. I made a bunch of these 158 grainers for 38 special the other day because I bought a bunch of stuff in preparation for Hillary. I don't have the cash to order a box of 100. So anyway, and then this just other combinations. I'm actually using the that little bleed insert with that tip forming die. And single, you know, you just get 148.5 hunk of lead grains, and then you squish it and you have a little bit of a tail come off, but you just pluck off with your fingernail to get your 148. Just playing with it. I was also playing with some of these berries bullets. A single press will get you that, and it does resize it from 355 to 357 with one quick press, but notice that the copper is cracking on, and some of it looks like it might be flaking on one of these, so might be the second it leaves the barrel, some copper will fly out, you know, so you'd want to use a flat point if you were doing that for this, or you could just simply buy the right bullets. But I got a lot of 124 grain berries bullets right now, so I might resize them for the 357 or something and give it a go for the fun, because a lot of it is for the fun of the sport. There's my older reloading analog scale, hardly ever use it. Then of course I've got multiple manuals, lots of manuals. Media vibrator, don't really use it much anymore. The ultrasonic cleaner does a much better job of cleaning on the inside of the case, the outside of course, and even with the primer still in place, it still seems to lift a little bit of crud out of there. So with this thing, if you left if you left the primer in place, it wouldn't do anything for you at all. So you might have some primer sitting proud, who knows. And then this is just something I threw together with bird wire 20 years ago to be able to separate the medium. Better products are available. So I got various chemicals. Permanent thread locker sometimes is pretty handy. This is actually the lubricant I was using this time around when I was doing the swaging. You can use, like Corbin sells this, I think, I can't remember what it's called now, lanolin. Little thing of lanolin. Of course they don't tell you what it is on it, but I think it's lanolin, and this is lanolin in suspension. I believe that's what it is. When you rub your forehead and you get that greasy feeling, well, that grease from sheep is what they use to make this stuff. So, but this stuff's kind of sticky, icky, and real thick. You can apply it much more, what the word, judiciously, I can't say it, but with this you get a real thin coat on stuff. Like one of these lead bullets that I pressed, it had a bunch of pockets, and it was because I used that stuff. And so this stuff's better, and you can make this yourself. There's a lot of stuff on eBay about making it. COP for No lubrication. I don't know if that's really reloading related, but this stuff reminds me a lot of this stuff. Then we get our dies for XL650s Dylan. It's a little couple of square WBs. About my second XL650 a month or so ago. Dies are pretty steep to set this thing up. Multi-purpose grease, handy for this, handy for guns, etc. I like the red stuff, just looks cool, and the black stuff that looks dirty the second you put it on. I think it's wheel bearing grease. So the left press is currently set up as 45, or large primer rather, doesn't matter what's on the head, but set up as large primer. The one on the right, small primer. One tip, if you're using one of these and you're kind of having issues with your primers going into the case right, or scraping the sides of the case, or getting bent, or having dings in it, or etc., loosen these two bolts and you'll discover that there is a little bit of play in your primer thing, and you can use that play to your advantage to better center your primer mechanism under the primer pocket in your cartridge that you're loading, and then tighten it back down once you think you got it better, and you'll discover that that problem all but goes away. I don't think I've had any issues with that on this one, but on the small primer machine, which I've used a lot more, it's came up. And then right now this is set up as a Despite Sand 357, it's a 38. I might just buy it. I already have a bunch of extra heads, so I might just buy another set of dies for 357. I just had some 38 special brass this time and thought, what the heck, I'll go ahead and make some bullets and load it up for something to hobby to do while it's raining. You notice that I have only one bullet feeder. These presses are close enough together where that does not present a problem. It will slip from one press to the other in 30 seconds, 20 seconds, depending on your coordination. It's really not a big deal. Both these presses are pretty much tricked out. I haven't gotten the the ball bearing. You can see that actually this is bullseye, and with 38 I was loading bullseye powder with 38 special, and so there was no powder spillage really. This is from another powder I was using a while back. Got all over the place in this thing. Set this to one height so I can swap it between machines. You do have to move the powder a little bit, swing it to unscrew it, but then you can move it to a different machine. This is your powder check system. Gives you an alarm if there's no cartridge there, such as like that. So basically the way I have it, it's pretty easy to move it. Like I can move it from this press to this press in probably 5 minutes. You only have to adjust this part here if you're using your same heights here, or you can buy extras of these. They're not that expensive. This thing I'm using, I forget, the strong mounts, that's what they call them. And this strong mount I think is for the square deal B. It's shorter than that strong mount, and it comes with a plate that would go in there so that it would hold stronger for the square deal B, but I've got it on this press, and it works fine. It's just pretty close to the work surface. They're necessary in my application because I have drawers, and when you have drawers, and if this press was mounted another 8 inches lower, this ram would be in front of that drawer. So that's the disadvantage of having drawers on your workbench. If you got Dillons, you have to kind of like this press over here, because it's all swinging low. I can't have a drawer right here, so that's why this press is here, or I could have put it over here. So, it's a consideration. Height may not be your only consideration as far as putting the press at a better working height for you. It might be that you have drawers, and so you end up having to have it if you want to put your presses there. I like these presses a lot. Bullet feeder works well. I've been using, I think this is the mid-size case feeder thing, and I don't know if I can get you a picture. I can't see the. And you know, I got the washer underneath it, so it'll do, this particular plate will do 300 blackout and 40 cal, 45, and apparently 38 special, since that's what I was doing today or yesterday. Then I have, of course, the small one for 9mm. For all I know, it'll work with that, but it only takes 2 seconds to swap it out, a minute, you know, or two. So yeah, there's no real disadvantage only having one hopper if you want to buy a second one of these for whatever reason. But you can also buy a complete primer assembly if you want to really swap it out quick with only one machine. So I'm not arguing or suggesting to you that you're better off necessarily with two of these. They take up more space. For some folks, Square Deal B is your best option for a fast progressive reloader that takes up little space both vertically and side to side, etc. I mean, that's a pretty compact machine. Got the primer thing. This guy really does speed up reloading, but it's finicky as hell. I'm using their Cellar Belliot primers. And it can have all kinds of problems. It can get stuck here, primers can get stuck there, primers can get stuck down there, pile up wrong and get stuck there. Primers will try to do the dance under here and they'll flip themselves at the last second even in there, so you have to, so I use tape to hold it down to keep some top pressure on it. If you over tighten that, then it bows, and you can have it set so it's running perfectly 200, 300 rounds, and then it starts screwing up on you again. So I mean, it's almost like it's pretty cool, but it's almost not ready for market. And so you end up, the only time you use a shield is, in my case, is to dump primers in there, and you take the shield off, and you know, it's a big thick plastic there to, so you can keep your eyes, right? And so now, then you take it off so you can see what's going on. If the primers are moving about that fast, you're okay. If the primers are like race cars, then some are going to be flipped over on you. And then once you have it adjusted just right, you put the shield on it, and then it's no longer adjusted right because that affects the vibration and you can't really see what's going on through the shield. So, and it makes a difference. You got to tweak it if you're running this Cellar Belliot stuff versus CCI. So, but I bought a whole bunch of the Cellar Belliot, so, but yeah, it's worth it to me. So let's see, what have I missed? So I do some bullet swaging. I have some corbin stuff, but not a whole lot of corbin dies. I mean, I have their base wad product that's pretty good about, stuck, pretty good about spitting these bullets out real nice and fast. That base thing supposedly scrubs the rifling, and so it kind of works like a jacket in that respect. But they're finicky to load. Some of them are too fat. Ends up being on, like, instead of like 357 up there, it's more like 360. So maybe you have to lube the cases to make it work, because it's pure lead, so it's a very soft lead. There's no antimony in the lead, no tin in the lead, so it's really soft. And like one of these I had fail on it because, you know, so. But you know, the thing is using the swaging press, you know, I mean, if you're a volume reloader, you're tired of doing this, right? That's why you're a volume reloader with a progressive press, so that every pull it spits a bullet out, and that's worthwhile. But swaging, like when you're swaging and putting bolt, you know, and using copper cups and making jacketed ammunition, you know, so you're at the cutting station, cutting a hunk of lead, finding the correct length of it so that you can cut them en masse. Then you're coming over here, then you have to couple that lead with a copper cup. Then you have to form the bullet. You're using lubes and so forth. And then you're ready to bring it over here and do some reloading with it, and so it's a lot of steps. So it's a great idea if like you want to be independent and if you want to be independent and think you'll never be able to buy jacketed ammo again, and the only way you're going to ever be able to make it is with a swaging press, or if you're a competition shooter and you're looking for that magical bullet to send you into legend or something, then swaging is. But for a lot of folks, in brief, for a lot of folks, it probably isn't worth. It's a curiosity. It's just it's a sports thing for me. So I think we've covered it. Spoke about the ultrasonic stuff. Basically, chemicals. Whenever there's chemicals, there's automotive stuff or household stuff that you can use to, adapt to your needs. I think that about covers it. I can't really think of anything else. I don't really use the press for reload, or the lathe for reloading, if you're wondering, there in the corner. Anything else? Let's see, I do have some loading subsonic stuff for the 300 blackout because I have suppressors. Although this is all full power. In an effort to load cheap ammo, I came up with this 8.8 grains load of 1680, which works reasonably well in my gun. It's position sensitive. Shake it and shoot it horizontal. It's 10-50 feet. You go like that, you lose 150 feet. Kind of funky. But if you load it with the CCI primers, it's the opposite. You load it so that it does 10-50 feet shooting horizontal, and you go like that, and you shoot it, you actually get another 150 feet per second. Pretty remarkable stuff, isn't it? Then how can I get one of these out? Let me grab something from the workbench within my reach. Then these are 147 grain, by the way. Here's an M80 in it backwards. It's a .308 caliber 147 grain bullet put in it backwards. There's actually stuff on the internet. A country actually did this with their suppressed rounds during World War II, and I bet it had to do I'm sure it had to do with bullet position issues, or maybe they just like the nasty wound. I don't know, but so I'm going to give these a shot. It's the same 8.8 grains of 1680, and see if it's position sensitive, because the cartridge does fill the case up. If you got it turned around. There's your cannular. Can I line it up? So you can see that some of that case volume will be taken up. So just an experiment. So, hobby space for reloading. Thanks for watching.